everyone. Welcome to November's Mommy Monday. I'm Jess. Mommy Mondays were created for our OEI and eGEM navigators to share important, interesting, and fun information about pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Our Mommy Monday today will consist of 3 segments brought to you by 2 certified community health workers and a registered nurse birth educator. I'm Jess, and I'll be talking about birth plans.
Good afternoon, and I'm Miko, and I'll be talking about what to pack.
And I am Lori, and I'll be talking about our Mothers Empowered Centering Pregnancy Program.
Hello! So first, some housekeeping. At the end of this presentation, we will post a link for the satisfaction survey in the comments. Please make sure to complete the survey to lock in your registration for the door prize of a goodie stuffed diaper bag. 2 winners will be drawn for the grand prize, and the first 15 eligible people to complete their registration by doing the survey will be receiving an appreciation kit consisting of a birth plan, an Everyone Reach One pregnancy journal, and a bears, blankets, and books package from our partners at Hannah's Treasure Chest. Thank you so much, Hannah's. Now, in these packages, there are a handmade bear, a handmade blanket, and a brand new board book for your baby. Now, reading to your baby, even while you're pregnant with them, is super important for brain and language development. So thank you so much, Hannah's, for your generous contribution. Another piece of housekeeping is that we do have the comments section open during this live presentation, so please feel free to post comments with questions or just information that you're excited to learn about, and we will be answering those live on the air today. So I would love to introduce Lori. She's going to go over stuff about centering first.
All right, so if anyone has ever been pregnant, you know that there are a lot of appointments that you go to during your pregnancy. Traditional prenatal care is going to be, it's going to consist of you coming into your OBGYN office. You will come in, get your weight, your blood pressure. You will see a physician or a midwife, get your baby's heartbeat, and then ask you if you have any questions, and you're kind of out the door. So the Centering Pregnancy Mothers Empowered model is a little different because during those scheduled appointments that you're already having, so every 4 weeks for the first into the second trimester, then every 2 weeks into your third and beyond trimester, and then those last 4 weeks where you're coming weekly, instead of being a fast 15-minute appointment, we're actually giving you 2 hours to spend with a provider and a nurse. It gives you time to ask questions. It gives us time to provide more education and more information. The one thing that really makes it different, though, is you are going to be having your appointments in person with other moms who are also due at the same time as you. So we group our appointments together by when our moms are due. So if we have 8 moms due in January and 8 moms due in February, 8 moms due in March, we know that you're all going to be going through all of your pregnancy symptoms together, and it gives us the chance to talk about what's going on with your pregnancy, but it gives you the chance to talk to other moms who are experiencing all of the same things at the same time as you. Some of these moms are first-time moms, some of these moms are 8th-time moms, so there is no specific requirement to have these appointments. Anyone can go through these appointments. I brought a list of just some of the different topics that we talk about during your appointment. Because you have a full 2 hours. When you check in, we get your weight and your blood pressure. We provide you with a snack and something to eat. We sit in a circle on some yoga ball chairs. You have a private appointment with your midwife, so we still have that. So you don't have to come in twice for an appointment and for these groups. We have each patient one at a time go back to see the midwife and have your belly measured, get your baby's heartbeat. We start out talking about prenatal vitamins and morning sickness, some healthy lifestyle changes, prenatal testing, when we do it, why we do it, how we do it, what some of the information means. Then we start talking about some of those common discomforts of pregnancy. It's pretty normal for a mom to be scared, especially if she has things happening to her body that have never happened before. Sometimes you might have a pain that you think is an emergency, and we can talk about this is an emergency, maybe this is not an emergency. So we talk about some of those growing pains that happen, and why is your body doing these crazy things that it never did before. We also talk about relaxation and managing some of your stress during pregnancy, trying to keep that stress level as low as possible. We talk about breastfeeding, we talk about formula feeding, we talk about WIC, we talk about family planning. So we want you to be thinking about right now during this pregnancy, how many children do you think you want to have, and how far apart you think you want them spaced, so that we can help you have that plan in place. So if you want 10 kids 2 years apart, we want to help you have 10 kids 2 years apart. We also do a couple of appointments on childbirth education, which we'll talk a little bit more about packing for the hospital and birth plans. We'll talk about water births. We'll talk about how partners can be a part of this experience. We'll talk about different positions for laboring in. We'll talk about epidurals. We'll talk about natural labors. Just let you know what your options are for pain medication and pain management during your labor. We will talk about newborn care, help you find a pediatrician for your baby that is accepting new babies, that accepts your insurance. We'll talk about infant safety, baby safety. We'll talk about safe sleep, car seat safety. We will talk about some information about when should you take your child to the pediatrician, when should you take your child to the emergency room. We also talk about postpartum depression. I think postpartum depression is something that is so vitally important. It's important for support people to know a lot about postpartum depression. The support people in your life are probably going to notice even before you do if you're having signs and symptoms of postpartum depression. We like to talk about it because we want our moms to know that it's okay if you don't instantly bond with your baby. It's okay if you're feeling sad and you're not sure why. It's okay, but we want to be there to help you if you are having any of those symptoms. We also have a fun little baby shower. Margie Christie from Dayton Right to Life comes, and we have some baby shower games. We'll win some prizes for your baby. It's just a really fun time to kind of relax and get to know each other better. And then we talk about postpartum things. So what to expect after you have your baby, what to expect in the hospital, and what to expect after you get home, and what are some things that you can do, and what can your friends and family do to help welcome that new baby home. So everyone gets a book that does this. It's a pretty big book. It's a pretty thick book. There's activities in here for us to do during your appointments. There's a lot of activities that you can do at home with partners also. Thinking about different things which are really important. Thinking about how you were raised versus how your partner was raised. How do you plan to raise this child? Talk about things like, what are your thoughts on discipline? And what are your thoughts on the way you were raised, the way your partner's raised, and if you plan on raising your child differently than you were raised, or keeping some of those same family traditions.
I think that was a really cool option in there to do with your partner. It's a really good worksheet. Mm-hmm. And is your birth plan in the book, or is that something separate that you have?
So the birth plan is actually something separate. There are so many birth plans out there. I know WIC has a great birth plan. You guys have a great birth plan. You can go on the internet and Google birth plans, and you'll probably get 10 million different birth plan options. You can have one small page with 10 questions on it, or you can have 25 single-spaced 10,000 word birth plans.
Now your care providers might have a hard time remembering all of that, so short and sweet is what I've heard.
Yes, short and sweet. Just kind of want to know what your desires are. What are your thoughts? How do you think you want your labor and your birth to go?
So why do you think it's important to have a birth plan?
So I think it's important to have a birth plan because you need your provider. So you need the person who is going to be delivering your baby and helping you through the labor process to know what your wishes are. Some patients already know that as soon as they hit the labor and delivery room doors, they want the epidural waiting for them when they walk back there. And some patients are planning to have a natural birth, a water birth, plan to labor in the tub, want to walk around. But it's important for your support person who is there with you, as well as the nurses caring for you and the midwives and your OBGYN to know what your plans are so we can support you the best way possible. So you have that birth that you've always wanted.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that's a great segue into talking more about birth plans. So in the Everyone Reach One Maternal and Infant Vitality Task Force Pregnancy Journal, which the lucky 15 of you will be getting with your package, on page 96 we do have a little bit about birth plans, and I'm just going to go pretty quickly over a couple of the things that we have here. So on the first page we just have what's the name of your healthcare professional. It's nice to have all this information in one place, have their phone number when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're not sure if, are these contractions, are these Braxton Hicks contractions? So not quite getting ready for labor yet, but it's your body just kind of starting to get ready for it. When it's 2 in the morning, you don't want to have to be shuffling through a bunch of papers to find the right number to call. So having it all in one place can be really helpful. Your birth partner's name, so whether that's your husband or your partner or your wife or whoever it might be. And then down here, any important medical issues. So in case your care provider, you have a variety that you're going to, if you're seeing 5 different OBs and you're not quite sure who's going to be there the day of the delivery, then having those important medical issues can have just right in the same spot. So it makes it easy for everyone. And then there's a page about labor. If you want to be standing up, lying down, walking around. So there are many options for pain management. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But in the delivery position, laying flat on the back actually compresses the pelvis, and it makes it a little harder for the baby to move through. So taking that into consideration before you're in the full throes of labor and you're not quite sure, okay, which way do I go with this? Just kind of considering these before you go into labor. And then when it comes to pain management, if you don't want any at all as far as medication, if you want to know what your options for medication are, that can be really important because it's not just an epidural that is your option. And also doing your own research, I think, is a really big deal because knowing what goes into the epidural, like sometimes there's fentanyl in an epidural, so doing your own research, asking your provider questions so that you get the answers that you need before you're in the full throes of labor. And I'll tell you, as someone who's experienced labor myself, I don't want to be asking questions when I'm dealing with contractions. So ask your questions before you go into labor. And then also here, any other comfort measures or preferences that you have, like a quiet room, dimmed lights, if you want very little shuffling back and forth. Also, you get to decide who comes into the room. I think right now with COVID, things are a little more restricted, so please check with your provider and wherever you're going to be delivering to see what the most up-to-date guidelines are for that. Whether we used to be able to have 10 of our family members in the room if we wanted. Who really wants that? But some people do, so ask your provider, can I just bring my one support person? Can I bring another family member? I know that with the system that you're with, no one under the age of 18 can come, so make sure you have a plan for those older kids, like where are they going to go at 2 o'clock in the morning if they're not able to come to the hospital or birthing center with you. And I did want to also mention that the use of pain meds can interfere with a newborn's spontaneous breast-seeking and breastfeeding behaviors. So if you do choose to breastfeed, do a little research about what might impede that so that you're not sitting there wondering what happened afterward and learning about it after you've already given birth. And I do love Also holding baby skin to skin right after delivery. There is little boxes here you can check if you want to do that or if you don't. But doing your research about it, Nils Bergman has some really great research about the magical first hour after birth. Baby goes through 9 different stages, and doing skin to skin is that very first one. So you can choose, how you want to be positioned when you're delivering, if you want your birth partner in the room with you, if you would like to speak to your healthcare professional about an episiotomy, if you maybe want one, if you definitely don't want one. Really what we're trying to say is do your own research about it. Take those questions that you have to your care provider in advance of going in, so you have a better idea and you can give informed consent about any procedure that they may suggest or any procedure that you've heard of. Maybe, you get to learn a little bit more about that before the baby is right on their way. And then also, if you do need a cesarean, if you want to stay conscious, if you want your partner to be with you the whole time, if you want to hold your baby right after delivery. So I know that you had a little information about that, right?
Yeah, so during our deliveries, we really want your baby to be skin to skin. It's not, some of these say I prefer to do skin to skin. We actually, all babies, unless there's an issue after delivery, are placed skin to skin. We do get babies dried off, we do get babies cleaned up, we do go skin to skin. If for some reason moms are not available to do skin to skin, we have partners, we have parents, sisters, best friends, they can do the skin to skin. It doesn't just have to be mom. Babies need that skin to skin time. We prefer it to be mom. In a C-section, it's a little more difficult, especially if mom's lying flat on her back during her C-section. She could feel a little nauseous, and she may not feel like she has enough strength to hold the baby. So sometimes we like to get that baby skin to skin and have partners help hold the baby there, or we just have partners in the OR have the baby skin to skin until we get mom back to her room. And then we start the breastfeeding process right away.
That's really wonderful.
We
Yeah.
do like to make sure that your family and friends are aware of one other thing. So shortly after delivery, you are so excited to find out, well, how big is my baby? How much does my baby weigh? How long is my baby? And we actually don't want to disturb that bonding process. And so we are not in any rush to find that out. We want mom and baby and partners to be bonding, doing skin to skin, learning to breastfeed, getting the rest that they need. So we are not actually finding out the information for several hours, sometimes after birth. We do delayed cord clamping after delivery, and we also do delayed bathing. So we don't want to give that baby their bath for several hours, 8 to 24 hours after delivery. And then we're also going to give moms that option. If you want to help give baby that first bath, you can give your baby their first bath, or you can have the nurses come in and help you give the baby their first bath.
I love that, delaying procedures, and I actually have that here in my notes. You can put that in your birth plan so that everyone is on the same page. Delaying procedures so that baby doesn't get confused or disorganized, especially if you're choosing to breastfeed, chest feed, or human milk feed. And then, yeah, you can advocate for your informed consent. If you're unsure, you can always ask, is there another option? Unless there's an emergency, you can ask all the questions you like to understand any procedure your birth professional is suggesting. And that goes for directly after birth as well, because there's just a huge kerfuffle. You've been, in labor, and now your baby is here. And I remember when I had my baby and she was skin to skin, everything else went dark, and I just was laser focused on my brand new baby. And so there were people shuffling around me, people doing things to me, and I wasn't sure what exactly was going on because I just was super focused on my baby. So if you put it in your birth plan that you want to be spoken to, you want to give your consent to every single thing, procedure that either is being done to your baby or being done to you, you're more than welcome to do that. And have that discussion with your care provider before you go into labor and before you show up to give birth as well, because having that clear communication can really make all the difference as far as your birth satisfaction. So, yep, the after delivery, and then there was a couple more things yeah, go ahead.
I was just
please.
going to mention something else about the birth plan. So, as important as we think the birth plan is, as important as it is for us to know your preferences on how you wish to labor and how you wish to deliver your baby, if you have questions on the C-section, we really also want to support you during your labor. And if that means we have to veer a little bit from the birth plan, we can always do that. I don't want you to think that because you wrote in your birth plan that you are having a natural labor with no pain intervention. If you need to ask for pain intervention, of course you can change the birth plan. If your plan was to have an epidural as soon as you came to the hospital and that's what you wrote on your birth plan, and when you get to the hospital you decide this isn't as bad as everyone says, you don't have to get the epidural. We'll support you through a natural labor. We just want to support you through whatever you need during the labor process.
I love that, because life is plan B. If this pandemic has taught us anything, that having a plan B or showing up even after plan A didn't work is super important. I love that. So you can veer from that, and that's totally okay. So even if you say, hey, I want the epidural as soon as I get in there, learn about some other pain management techniques as well, because you might want to fall back on those. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Doula Care. Doula is another trained birth professional. They are not hired by the hospital. They are hired by you, for the birthing person's well-being, emotional, physical, and intellectual well-being, and they are there with you through your entire labor, through to the birth, and even for a couple of hours afterward. Just depends on the doula you talk to. But please look into doulas, and they really, I know that my birth was far more satisfying because I had a doula there. So thank you so much for watching about the birth plans, but now we're gonna change gears a little bit, and we're gonna talk with Miko about what to pack. So we want to make sure that you have all the things you need while you're in the hospital.
Again, good afternoon and welcome. We are so grateful to have each of you here with us. One thing time has taught me, you don't think about things till you need them. So for me, I think it's very important as expecting moms for us to be prepared, packing our bags at least a month to a month and a half prior to your expected date of delivery, and making sure that you take things to make your stay in particular comfortable, because we never know what that stay may look like. That stay could be 24 hours, it could be 48 hours or more, just depending. Each delivery and each pregnancy is different. So I want you all to really take into consideration, you know, what would make me comfortable during that time that I'm at the hospital. So the first things we want to discuss is making sure that you do take things like your ID, your insurance card, and of course that birthing plan with you, so that you'll have those things, even if it means making copies of them and sticking them in your bag, because maybe you don't grab your purse when you're running out, you know, to get to the hospital and it's not a scheduled delivery or anything. So make sure that you've made copies of your ID and your insurance card. Keep those in your bag. I think it's very important. And then as a mom, make sure that you have things that you'll need. I would say you're going to want to take things like your toothbrush and your deodorant and your lotion, that preferred thing. If you have a book you need to read, or games you like to play, crossword puzzles, whatever that might be, take those things with you. Because again, you may have time to sit, especially if you get an epidural, because you're kind of waiting on the baby to move, to do, you know, to get here, so that you can be reading a book or doing your crossword puzzles. I would also suggest that you take a paper and pen with you to write down questions. Let's say new questions arise and you don't have paper or pen, at least you'll have that with you in addition to your birthing plan, so that you can write those things down, or even journaling your experience. So make sure you take, you know, pen and paper with you, because there's things you may forget 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, but if you journaled it or wrote those things down, it's right there. So those are just some good things for you to have. Always remember to have your cords for your devices. The worst thing is to get there and not be able to call who you want to call because your phone has died, or wanting your support person to leave to go get cords and maybe missing, that important time of the baby's delivery. So make sure that you have cords there for your devices, whether that's tablets, phones, or whatever the case may be. I think that those are, awesome things for you to have. As far as clothing for mom, make sure that you have some very comfortable clothing to wear home. You don't want anything that's tight fitting, because depending on what type of birth that you've had, whether it was cesarean or whatever the case may be, that can be a little uncomfortable if your clothing is really, form fitting. Also bring in a robe and pajamas. Maybe after delivery you choose to change clothes and be in something that you like versus a hospital gown, and those things are permitted. Having some house shoes, some comfortable house shoes that you like to be in. Walking on the floors, I think, is an awesome idea. In addition to that, don't forget things like lip balm. Some of the simplest things that may not be offered by every birthing center and hospital. So lip balm, because your lips may get chapped. Mints, sometimes you can't have those, during delivery because you're not allowed to take anything in, but you may want that after the fact, to have mints or gum, so that's always good. If you have glasses or contacts, I would suggest if you have an extra pair, go ahead and pack that extra pair in a bag in case you don't snatch that, when it's time to go. So anything that you can pre-pack to make your stay more comfortable, try to do that and have those things already prepared. As far as baby, I know we as mommies, we like to buy everything and take it all with us to the hospital and just have to drag it all back home. But I think that it's definitely wisdom if you have a specific outfit that you want pictures taken in and want that baby to come home in. Those things are excellent to have. It's also a good idea if you'd like to take something like this with you, just to have some basics. Some hospitals provide some of the things in here, some of them don't. So you may want these small grooming kits for the baby.
Nail clippers,
files, even the little files, because then it's a little easier with the files not to accidentally nip them or whatever the case may be.
Memories.
So make sure that you try to bring something like that for the baby. And of course, whatever that little cute outfit is that you just had to have and take pictures in and whatever, that's fine. I am a little older, so my thought is always wash things before you put them on baby. Before you go to the hospital, wash all that stuff. I'm sorry. That's not a must, that's just a preference. So, and then the baby's car seat. You cannot leave the hospital without a car seat for your baby. So one of the first things you need to make sure that you have prior to delivery is the car seat. Make sure that you know how to insert the car seat and attach it into the car. All of those things, so that when it's time for you and baby to go home, you all can go home safely.
And I would love to plug our neighborhood Navigator program right now. So we are navigators with OEI and the eGEMS programs here at Public Health, Dayton, Montgomery County. And if you are pregnant or newly postpartum, if you have an infant under the age of 1, we would love to chat with you and connect you to any resources that you might have. We have connected multiple families to car seats, infant car seats, and certain programs that will help show you how to install them safely so that they're already in the car, ready to go if you indeed are taking your own car to the birth.
Can I mention something else about car seats?
Sure.
I think it's really important when you are getting ready to have a new baby. All car seats are just a little bit different. Every style, every design.
So
You
true.
don't want to take your car seat still in the original box that you received it in. You want to take that car seat out of the box at home and play with it a little bit. Maybe take a doll, a stuffed animal, a pillow, and practice snapping the fasteners and just seeing how that car seat works. How do you loosen the straps and tighten the straps? Because when you get to the hospital, you don't want to be trying to figure that out the
With the
day
new
you're going
baby.
home with a new baby.
That is so
You want
true.
to already know how the car seat works.
That's awesome. That's so true, because every last one
Every
is
single
different,
one.
and depending on when you've had a baby, and the change in things makes a huge difference. And last but not least, most of us have a support person that has already stated or is expected to be there with us. And you want their time there to be comfortable as well. And so many times we don't consider that, but it's worth considering. So making sure that your support person has their own bag would be great. So a change of clothes, toiletries, for them if they need a tablet or a laptop or something to that effect. Making sure snacks, depending on what hospital and what vending machines. They may be able to use their card, but to pack a roll of quarters. Things like that people don't oftentimes think of, so that they can go run and get snacks and different stuff. And you also, can always pack snacks. If you know that there are specific things that they like or have those things in their bag, so that when they come as a support to you, that they're just as comfortable during that time, so that they can be their very best in supporting you while they're there. So those are just things, from noise, sound machines, I call them noise makers, but sound machines, to apps on your phone with soaking music. All those things are good things for you, whatever it is that you prefer. If you want to listen to soft jazz, you can already have your playlist on your phone.
Start your playlist.
Whatever the case may be, try to get those things prepared and done way prior to you arriving at the hospital for delivery.
And I liked what you said too. Make sure you do it a month or a month and a half before you have your expected due date, because we know that babies come when they want to.
When they want to.
So, they may come at 32 weeks. They may come at 42 weeks. We don't know. So don't wait until 39 weeks and 5 days to start packing your bag, because it might, baby might choose to come a little earlier than that. So I love that you included that as well, Miko.
Thank you. Yeah. Because we want you all to have the best possible experience, to look back and say, you know what, this was awesome. This was great. My time, at the hospital or birthing center was an amazing experience. And some of that goes to what you're packing, your birthing plan, and knowing what you truly desire your experience to be.
Because you will remember your birth for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if you had a kid 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 8 years ago, you will remember that experience for the rest of your life. So being prepared and having what you want and need, it's really important. Any final thoughts from our friends? Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for coming. We've really enjoyed sitting here and talking with you about things that are near and dear to our heart. Please, if you had pre-registered for this event and you would like to be eligible for the door prizes, we will be posting in the comments the satisfaction survey. Please fill that out. And then we will contact the winners of the grand door prize diaper bags and eligible recipients of the appreciation kits within 2 weeks. Hey, great, we have a question. Wonderful. Nancy asks, should you also gather the things you would take to the birthing center even if you've planned a home birth? That's a really great question, Nancy. I think that having a home birth is a wonderful idea. Occasionally, people do need to transfer to the hospital or birthing center, so having a bag ready and packed is a great idea. Good question. Thank you, Nancy.
Yes, awesome question.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you for the next Mommy Monday.